Hi, everyone. So we're here today on the Balance Your Life podcast, Our Evolving Consciousness, with Ivette Desai, who is a midlife integration guide, which is something totally different. What does that even mean, Yvette?
Well, thank you, first of all, for having me here.
Yes, thank you for being with us.
So what does that mean? Well, I work with women going through midlife issues, evolving to the next level, women who are dealing with perimenopause, menopausal issues, coming from that Pitta stage of life, going into the Vata stage of life. So that's where Ayurveda comes in. So I integrate Ayurveda, yoga, meditation, sound healing, and Reiki to help women really thrive in the next stage of their life.
There is so much to unpack and get into here.
I know.
Before we do,
you said a lot.
Yeah, before we do, why don't you just explain for everyone tell us a little bit about what those stages are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that would be great.
So from an Ayurvedic perspective,
Yes.
We begin with the elements. Elements are found not only within us, but within nature. Those elements, you might be asking, are what? So they are earth, ether, water, fire, and air. And we have all of them within us. We are born with what we call a prakruti, our constitution. And as we evolve through life, we move and create vikrutis, imbalances in our life, right?
Okay.
And so these elements not only exist within us, but they exist within the cycles of nature, right? So day, the cycles of moon and the sun, the cycles of the seasons, and the cycles of life, right? So the Kapha time of life contains the elements of earth and ether. That's when we're children, right? So it's when we're building our body, our stamina, our structure. If we're out of balance, we know kids are a little snotty. There's a lot of sinus congestion and runny noses. You know, we all experience that, right? So we go, and that goes until we're about in our 20s. Then we meet the Pitta stage of life. That is fire. That is water. That is our ability to transform our life. When we want to create the things in our life, when we're building our wealth, when we have drive, when we're building our empire, right? And we're go, 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 we're very driven, and we're taking on a lot of responsibility. We might be building a family. We might have a career, right? We might be taking care of aging parents at some point, right? And then we move into what we call the Vata time of life. And that is the elements of ether and air. And this is the energy that is dispersed, but it's where we meet our soul again.
Okay.
Right? So it's a time that we are in our wisdom years. And as women, right, that life can feel a little disconcerting.
Yeah.
So when we're in that Pitta time of life, when we're building, right, we can feel a little off-put because as women, we're told certain things as we grow up, certain beliefs, right, that we can have it all. And we can have it all to an extent, but there's also a lot of sacrifices that we make along the way. And we can get burnt out. We can feel overwhelmed in our life. And this can have a lot of physical and emotional repercussions. And so when we meet that Vata stage in life, what happens? We begin to question, right? Who are we? What am I without these things that I used to have in my life? Maybe I was a mother, or I'm still a mother, but maybe my kids are leaving, and where does that leave me? Right? So we begin to ponder, and then we have these changes going on within our body, right? So we might feel a little hormonal, a little burnt out. We might develop aches and pains. We might have sleeping issues, right? So, I mean, I can go on and on. I think you kind of understand where I'm going with that. And I think we all experience it. And it's something that we may not be taught. We may not be made aware of. Right?
No one talks about it.
Exactly.
Yeah, really.
Right? It's like everything that we kind of put under the carpet. And, you know, I'm here to help women to realize that this is normal that what we're going through.
That's great.
But in ancient times, so Ayurveda is an ancient healing modality which originated in India over 5,000 years ago, right? There wasn't in the texts were mainly written by men, and the knowledge around women really went down through word of mouth. But there isn't a lot around, say, the signals that our body gave us around maybe perimenopause and menopause. So there's not a lot known about that, but what we do know is that stress is a really big indicator in causing those signals in our body. And so for us women, you know, the idea of bringing in self-care, of making time for ourselves, not adding to our to-do list, but doing things with intentional taking care of ourselves so that we feel at home in our body.
Right.
Well, so you work with women as they are approaching this later phase of their life.
Yes.
What is the goal?
The goal is for them to feel at home in their body.
Mm-hmm.
Their goal is so that they can thrive in the next stage of their life, and so that they can reconnect to who they really are. Because often along this journey, we lose ourselves, right? As we become parents maybe, or become very involved with our career, we lose sometimes who we truly are. Not all of us are aligned with our true dharma. You know, as we're moving along, we're collecting our stories, we're collecting things, we're collecting money, we're collecting experiences, we're building family, right? And often that involves a lot of responsibility, right? And a lot of stress. And so we can lose that sense of who we are. Sometimes we get carried away with what society wants from us, and we might have limited beliefs about what our capabilities are. And so along that journey, we lose that time and space to connect with who we truly are, right? And so if we have family, and then all of a sudden maybe we might go through a divorce, our children might leave, our parents might get sick, right? So, you know, maybe we're pulled in directions we might not have been pulled in before. And it asks us to begin to ask these things that are happening. What is life calling me to do? How is life calling me to change? How is life calling me to be different in my life? What do I need to let go of? What rituals can I bring in? So that we can reinvent ourselves in this time of our life, so that we can relax, so that we can feel at home, we can become more creative in our life, right? That's the time of life where we really want to begin to travel, to really connect with ourselves and what our true calling is.
It's to be balanced during that time of freedom.
Absolutely. So that we feel at home in that way.
Yeah.
So
it sounds so nice.
It does.
And it is possible.
Yes, I mean,
Yes,
you know, it's kind of where we are in life, doing something different now, right?
Right.
So, so you mentioned so many different beautiful modalities that you work with, sound healing and yoga and just different practices. So Reiki. And so why don't you give us a picture of, now pull that together, what does that look like when you're working with somebody? Is it a structured program, or is it individual? What is it?
Is it customized to the individual?
So a lot of people come to know me through either sound healing or yoga. And then I often integrate the teachings of yoga, of Ayurveda, in my yoga classes, as well as through my sound healings. And so what happens is then I invite people to understand that the practices of yoga and sound healing can help you feel this sense of ease in your body. I'm sure both of you have experienced sound healing.
Yes.
Right?
And yoga.
Right, and yoga, right? And
they are, and I do long to that feeling, for that feeling sometimes, right? Yeah, it is
and
nice.
often we feel that it's only a momentary feeling.
Yes.
But we know yoga is a practice. And if we continue to practice yoga, right, we can have that feeling with us a little bit more. That vibration carries with us off the mat.
Right.
And the same with sound healing. I know sound healing is vibration.
Right.
We are vibration. Right?
Yes,
So sound healing is that journey back to ourselves to allow us to feel that sense of calm, that sense of resonance, that sense of rhythm, that sense of feeling at home. Right. But we can have that longer term if we begin to incorporate practices in our life with intention. So when people are with me in those realms, I invite them to take an energetic blueprint quiz, which is also known as a dosha quiz, so they can understand how these energies begin to resonate within their body, where they might be imbalanced, right? And then I invite them to work with me one-on-one, where it is very much of a customized program. So, maybe we integrate a little bit of meditation. The interesting thing about meditation is only about 15% of people actually are able to keep up with the practice of meditation.
Is that it? Wow.
Yeah, it
seems like it would be more these days, doesn't it?
Well, consistently,
Yeah.
and really feel that vibration that maybe sound healing can bring to our body.
Right.
Right? So if you were to work with me one-on-one, then we would sit down, we would have a 2-hour consultation. I have you fill out a long questionnaire about not only the things that you're experiencing currently in your life, but also what you experienced as a child. What kind of trauma you might have experienced, what were your eating patterns, your lifestyle experiences, any kind of health issues you might have had, and then what's going on now, right? And then from there we create a plan. Sometimes there'll be some yoga, meditation, Ayurvedic practices. So as we move into the Vata time of life, and sometimes there's sound healing and different other practices, but from an Ayurvedic perspective, as we move into that Vata time of life, we tend to feel a little imbalanced. And what does imbalance feel like as a Vata imbalance? That can feel overwhelmed. That can feel stressed in our life, anxious in our life. Our bones might feel a little achy. We're becoming a little bit more dry. Our skin's becoming more dry. Our joints are feeling dry. We might feel bloated. We might have more gas, right? Distension. That's more of a Vata imbalance. You might not be sleeping very well, right? So you need more grounding, right? This ability to feel at home in your body. So there's many practices that we can do to begin to integrate that into your life. My favorite is self-massage. So nice.
Okay.
Right? Often we're going for a massage, or maybe not often enough, right? But it's a practice. Well, during COVID, that was one of my biggest practices that really helped me feel at home in my body, because there was so much activation in my nervous system, like many of us, right? We're so active, we didn't know what was going on. We didn't know what the next thing was going to be, right?
Kind of like
so
now.
much uncertainty, right?
Still continuing.
Yeah, so there's elements of that, right? And so we can help ourselves. We can become our own healer. And for me, that is my biggest goal in working with my clients, is that they become their own healer. Because Ayurveda and yoga and sound healing, all of these modalities help us to become more aware of how we are feeling, and that what the symptoms that we might be feeling are symptoms that might be treated separately by a Western doctor, but these are signals that our body is speaking to us, and that we have the ability to come back home to ourselves by incorporating rituals. Right? So
sounds so nice.
Just
and
relax. And it doesn't have to be, a whole
flow,
other
doesn't it?
hour, but it is. And that's how we approach it, with ease. And we don't have to make a huge shift in our life overnight.
Right, and then be stressed out about how much we have to do.
Right, and we don't have to be perfect about it, right? Because we know the Pitta time of life, we're very driven. We're trying to be perfect. We're trying to keep all the eggs in the basket, right? And, a Pitta out of balance, what is that out of balance? That is burnout. That is overwhelm. That is this, maybe we're having acid reflux. Maybe we're having the runs a lot, right? Just, we're maybe not sleeping. Maybe we're falling asleep, but then waking up in the middle of the night and not being able to go back to sleep. And so there's, different symptoms that so we need more cooling things in our life.
Right.
Things that allow us to slow down. We need to soften and find more space.
We need to keep
We're
her
laughing
around
because
us
I know.
all the time.
Well, actually, she's so calming, her
right.
voice, and really, I'm sitting here going, "Oh, I'm getting tired." And I'm thinking, I slept
don't put you to sleep.
No, not in a bad, in a nice way, relaxed, right? And
Do you work with most of your clients online or in person?
It depends geographically.
Okay.
So Zoom is primarily, but if someone wants to come to my space in Mountain Lakes, I have a small space there, and sometimes we'll incorporate some sound healing, some Reiki, a little bit of yoga. So all of that is possible.
And if somebody wanted to work with you and wanted to have access to sound healing, do you make that available for them, or is it at a scheduled time?
So I do group healings. There's a place in Mountain Lakes that I do. Often there's different studios that will invite me in. I do them in different libraries if I'm asked to come in as well. Whoever wants me to come in, I'll come in. The thing is, I did have a space that I was using in Mountain Lakes, but it only fits about 8 people in. And because of the size of the space, I have a gong and some larger instruments that, knowing sound healing, that the sound can really spread through the body, and it can feel a little overwhelming for some people. So I prefer to be in a larger space.
Right.
But people have also invited me into their homes to do great group sound healing and Reiki as well.
Again, because it's such an amazing experience, and I think when people have you done sound healing?
Of course.
Well, I mean,
have we done everything?
We've done
everything.
Short sessions, but
Yes.
have you ever done?
No,
a
I
session
actually
where-
had somebody here in the off. You weren't here a few years ago. A whole group thing. Yeah, but they weren't.
Nice.
People were not lying down. They were sitting.
That's no. What I mean is, have
And
you
then,
done
yeah.
something where you're lying down and you
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
transform? Because we do. We've had practitioners over the years. We've had sitting. We've had just one-on-one mini sessions. But that lying down experience when you can
like
just
for an hour,
align and just it's
Right.
amazing. And
Yeah.
I've seen people cry. I've seen people laugh. I've
sure.
seen
It's
people
really-
go out. It's just
Well, there's a lot of emotional release,
fantastic.
right?
Yeah.
So, what's happened through our lifetime is, we've collected these stories. We've inherited stories in our life, right? And, the sound healing works at a vibrational level, working with the chakras, right? All the 7 chakras, well, the thousands of chakras that we actually have in our body.
Right.
And there can be emotional releases, to your point, right? And many
Sure.
times I have people crying. Some people just fall asleep, right?
Right.
And it depends upon what's going on in our body in that time. But often what sound healing allows us to do is come to terms with that again, to become aware of that, to feel that. Because often those stories or those layers that we have in our life are creating a disconnect in our body, right? And all of that running and doing and going is a way, to numb ourselves. And that's what's
distraction.
happening, right? Drinking the alcohol, eating the food, eating the sugar, all of these are ways that we're numbing ourselves and creating that disconnect within us, right? And what I am trying to help women to do is to connect with themselves, to realize the ways that they're numbing themselves and avoiding themselves and just moving and going. And that numbing is causing inflammation in our body. What we really need at our core self is to be able to feel into our emotions, into our deeper desires. Right? And if we're going and doing, we're unable to do that, right? We're not taking, one of my mantras is pause, breathe, and reflect or respond.
Oh, that's
right?
nice.
And that was really
Like that.
so key to me. And in my every yoga practice that I lead, when we turn to our side, I always tell everyone to pause, to breathe, and then reflect on their practice. And when they're off the mat, respond before they react, right? Because often we just react. Right,
Yes,
and we're in the heat of the moment, especially like the Pitta energy. We're like, okay, and then we're like, right in there.
And we know that well.
And I know that because I have that too.
Right.
When you started on this path, where did you start? I know that you were a coach, right? Is that what led you to this, or and then you found yoga? How did it happen?
Yeah. So I became a health coach because I had my own health issues. My whole health issues were around osteoarthritis in my neck, spinal myelopathy. I then also found out that I had a thyroid issue, and I was never diagnosed with adrenal fatigue, but I know that knowing the symptoms, I had the same thing, and I burnt out.
Right.
And I really found myself in bed, not being able to move. 3 young children. Doctors were telling me I needed to be on different medications.
Were you working at that time?
Working part-time.
Okay.
My husband was traveling a tremendous amount. I had 3 young children.
So 3 children with a husband traveling alone is
And I was a volunteer.
job.
Right? And I wanted to
Yep.
get up at every 6 a.m. for 6 a.m. boot camps.
I
wanted, I was
Burnout.
striving for perfection in my life.
Yes.
And, I wanted it all. right? And I wasn't taking a pause, right? It was going from one thing to the next, right?
Sure.
Making homemade meals, right? So
Right.
everyone was healthy except for me,
Right.
right? You know, I was working out, but I was burning the candle at both edges, right? Because, you know, Pittas, we need some softness in our life, right? We need to be able to cool down and do a little bit of yin, right? But I didn't realize that. So, you know, I was a runner at that time, so I had to stop running. And I had to find other modalities, and I was actually very fortunate around that time to know other people that were in the chiropractic field, that knew about homeopathy, that knew about lifestyle change, functional medicine, but at that time I didn't find Ayurveda. I was introduced to Ayurveda, but it seemed a little foreign and a little just so different that I didn't feel, it felt intangible. Really. I was like,
there's a lot to learn.
Right, how you guys do,
There's
right.
a lot
there
to
seems
learn
to be like
around
so many
Ayurveda.
guidelines, and I was like, how could I bring this into my life? I've got 3 kids, I'm working, like, but
it's too much.
I was
like
this is just not me. So over what ended up happening was I found yoga because I couldn't run anymore.
That's so funny. That's exactly what happened to me when I got the adrenal exhaustion. And I was out there running, and my doctor's like, are you kidding? And I'm like, I thought it would be good to exercise.
Right.
Yeah, no. And it was just same exact thing. So the only thing I was allowed to do was yoga.
I didn't know that about you.
Yeah. I did it on the Wii Fit that the kids had.
Oh, absolutely.
That's how I learned it, because, you know, and just
I love the dance party.
That's what and then something happened to the Wii Fit. But seriously,
Maybe you should break out the Wii
exactly. I'm saying something happened to it.
I know.
We don't
I'm
have it
saying,
anymore. I know,
kidding.
but I should break it out.
It's always fun, right?
Yeah. But
So,
exact same thing.
So then I started going from yoga. I became certified and then learned a little bit about Ayurveda, but not a lot in my teacher training. And then I was exposed to a friend of a friend who knew about Ayurveda. And it began to really resonate with me because it's a sister science of yoga. I was like, oh, these are really... So the way that I like to describe it is that yoga kind of is that map way of how we can live our life, but Ayurveda gives us the tools.
Oh, interesting.
Right?
That's a good way to put it.
And so integrating them, I slowly began to integrate what I used to have a program called 10 Habits to Thrive.
Okay.
It's an online program. And I decided to end it. It was very successful because I wanted one-on-one connection with people. And I wanted to make a deeper difference in people's lives. And I wanted to see people.
Yeah,
in
right.
person
Absolutely.
more so.
Right.
And so I still, do a couple of online programs where I do my cleanses, because in Ayurveda we cleanse a couple of times a year. But then I became, I found Kate Stillman, and she really helped me to dive into Ayurveda a lot more deeply. And then Katie Silcox, who takes more of a feminine approach to it. So I think that from Katie, what I really took is this more feminine form of Ayurveda, which is more gentle. So we don't have to do everything every day. We don't have to be perfect in how we do it. We can let go of that A+ personality and kind of move into a B-.
So what are the principles of Ayurveda that you feel are most important and that you are bringing forward to your clients and yourself and been successful with?
I was going to ask what tools you had. It's
Well,
kind of the
before
same
we
thing.
get there,
I
hear what
kind
you're
of
teaching.
want to come back a little bit. There's 3 things that we really need to focus on: Ama, Agni, and Ojas. Ama is this inflammation in our body, and we know that as if we have a Pitta imbalance, right? The pain that we begin to have, the inflammation in our body, it might be expressing itself through the face, rosacea, other things, and psoriasis in our body, and so when we have inflammation, we need to cool the body down.
Right.
And so we have to be aware of it. Ways that we can become aware of that is how we're sleeping, how the aches and pains in our body. We can also look at our tongue diagnosis, right? Which we did, at the Wellness Gala last week. Excuse me. And so you look at the tongue, and if you have a thick coat when you wake up in the morning, you have inflammation. The tongue can reveal a lot of other things as well. I'm not going to go into that now.
Okay.
We could do a whole podcast on that.
Yeah, sure.
But that is something that we look at. And then ojas. Ojas is this ability to have this sense of resilience, this immunity. So Agni, we want to have the fire that's lighting the candle at the right level, right? So that we're not burning ourselves out, but we're burning through and transforming that our emotions, our food, so that they turn into the nutrients that we need so that we can have that ojas, that resilience, that immunity. So we want to, the Agni helps us to get rid of the ama in our body, if it's burning at the right amount of time, right? And so we move into these principles, these small little rituals that we can incorporate on a day-to-day basis. So, I like to align our rhythms with the circadian rhythm of the day. So as I explained, like these energies exist within the day, and so when we wake up, it's Kapha time. So hopefully we've slept well the night before. Actually, I'd like to go a little bit beyond that, like Vata time. When we wake up, we're tapping into our deeper intuition. So I like to encourage women to rise a little bit early if they're not experiencing adrenal fatigue. Then you can sleep as long as you want. But wake up. That's when our intuition is at its highest. Right? And it's that soul seeking. We connect to ourselves. Have that sense of quiet. Not look at our phone the first thing in the morning, right? To raise that anxiety. But then connect. Have a little bit of stillness and quiet, whether it's meditation or journaling, or just having a cup of tea to look at
setting your intention for the day.
And setting your intention, absolutely. Right.
So do you, are you vegetarian?
I do eat meat every now and then, maybe once a month.
And you work with people individually on making changes to what they're eating?
Absolutely.
Based on your Ayurvedic principles, right? So is that just an uptake, like questions to help you decide, or is there you can pretty quickly see when you're talking to someone what they need to
so from a conversation, so I physically can look and see in your body if you're Pitta, Kapha, Vata. We have all of those within us, but then I'll have you fill out a questionnaire. So I do have an energetic blueprint quiz on my website if you want to take that.
Is that the one we took?
That's the one.
Okay.
And she did make reference to it before,
yes,
so I'm glad we're going back to that, because everybody should take it. It's easy.
Yeah,
it
takes
great.
like 2 minutes.
And it gives you information, and it I don't know, it resonated with me the whole thing.
Yeah,
it's great.
So it also helps us to realize we're not alone, right? That we're all experiencing something, and that these may not be symptoms, they're just signs that our body wants us to shift, to do something different, right? Whether it's taking care of ourselves. So, then from that Kapha time, do you want me to go back to that a little bit?
Yeah,
sure, please.
So we wake up in the morning, it's a really good time. Like Kapha time, we might be a little reticent about getting out of bed. We might feel a little like, I just want to stay in my cozy bed. Or, but it's a time that if we get up, we want to lift the energy, because Kapha, the energy is coming down. It's earth and water. It's structure, stability, right? It's the energy of cohesion. And bringing things together, right? So we want to raise our energy, and often we reach for a cup of coffee to do that in the morning, right? But what if we did a few sun salutations? What if we did some jumping jacks? What if we just walked around the block with our dog? Very easy things, right? Just a fast walk, right? So nothing that we're asking, to spend an hour on, but just something gentle to bring that up. And then maybe you start off the day with some warm water and some lemon. We want to get the digestion moving, right? So we scrape our tongue, we drink our water, hopefully, we eliminate first thing in the morning, because if we're not eliminating first thing in the morning, then we're holding the toxins from the day before in our body through the day, right? And then that's leaking back in. It's the same with scraping the tongue. One of the reasons we scrape the tongue is to get rid of the toxins on the tongue, so we don't reabsorb.
Is that like why you brush your tongue?
Well, we prefer to use a tongue scraper.
Yeah,
I think Bruce actually has a
that's good.
Yeah, so he's
I brush my tongue. So. Yeah, no, I know what it is. My kids have it too. Yeah.
So it just kind of gets rid of it, and then we so that's the Kapha time of day. So it's kind of still, we're bringing it together. When we move into the Pitta time of day, we want to have our largest meal there. We might have something light for breakfast, but that's the energy of transformation, right? It's also a nice time of day where we can get things done, check things off our checklist, do activities that take a lot of focus and attention and drive at that time.
Can I interrupt and just ask a
absolutely.
question? So the second phase, about how long is each? Or
So,
does it depend? The
Kapha
first.
is about 6 to 10 a.m.
Okay.
But depending upon the seasons.
Right, or when you wake up
yeah.
and all that.
And
okay.
then,
it's like 4 hours.
3 or 4 hours.
Okay.
And then Pitta time of day is like anywhere from 11 to like 2.
Okay. Midday-ish.
Yeah, midday-ish, right? Because the sun is at its highest.
Okay.
Right? So that's fire. Think of the fire.
Okay, right.
And then the next phase is the Vata time of day. So that's usually like anywhere from 2 to 6.
Okay.
So that energy is spurring out air and ether. It's a really great time to be creative, to have meetings, to learn something new. Often that time of the day, like around 3, you might feel a little hungry or feel an energy low. And that's usually a time of day and an indication rather that we haven't eaten enough. So we want a bigger meal, right? So we're reaching for that snack, that caffeine, that little bit of sugar, right, to pump up our energy. So important that we have a bigger meal in that part of the day. And if you are more Vata imbalanced, you can have a light snack, of course. You know, Ayurveda is very big about rhythmic eating. So making sure that we keep space between our meals, that we eat anywhere from 2 to 4 meals a day. So that we have at least 3 hours between our meals. Okay. And that, of course, depends upon your imbalance, right? We're always trying to work on the imbalance, bringing you back into balance. Right?
And then last meal, what is the latest that should be? If possible.
Usually
when possible.
Well, really the rule is to keep 3 hours between your last meal and the time you go to bed.
Okay.
So, you know, that can vary a little bit in the summer. You might be going to bed at 11. Like I like to be in bed latest by 10 o'clock. So my meal I usually have around 6, 6:30, sometimes 7, but you want it to be lighter, right? And you also want it to be warmer if you can. I mean, we're going into summer, so we're going into Pitta time, so you can get away with a little bit more cooler foods. But when we're in like Vata season, the winter and spring, you want warm and moist foods, especially for a Vata imbalance going into that time of life. Because it's harder for us to digest our food. So warm and moist, right?
So that's easier to digest?
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
When your body's craving, like there are times when just if you're having your meal in the middle of the day, your biggest meal, and sometimes you just crave something that's warm and satisfying. Is there anything to that? Like sometimes you just feel like, I want to have a soup, or I want to have a hot meal. I don't want a salad right now. I want something.
And that could be your body just saying, I need some nurturing. I need some nourishing. Both of those things at that time, right? And you might feel a little Vata imbalanced, right? It might be colder outside and you're feeling that, right? I know a lot of us think eating healthy is having a salad all the time. And yes, salads are very healthy. But if you have a Vata imbalance and your digestion is not as strong, then I would encourage you to marinate it for at least 20 minutes, because the marinade of an olive oil or an avocado oil and the lemon juice or vinaigrette will help to break down and helps that digestive process for you. Right? And always chewing our food at least 30 times. I know it's so hard for us.
I know.
But these are small little things.
Yeah.
Right?
Try to be mindful.
A lot of it
them.
is about healing our digestion. And it's not just digestion of food. It's digestion of experiences and our emotions.
And I'm glad you said that, because I want to go back to your story. And there was a healing, right?
Yeah.
So there was a healing that went on, and it started your journey. And I'm curious, at what point did you recognize that you literally, because you're the epitome of health, right? And you're sharing that. And so at what point did you realize that I've successfully, the changes that I've made have changed my body, and I need to share this?
I think I was always on a sharing journey. I think probably 2 or 3 years after I was working with different practitioners, and I realized that we could heal ourselves on our own, right, and not have to use medication. Yes, there are times we need that.
Sure.
Right? But I put off a surgery for 10 years before I actually had to have it.
Oh, good for you.
Right?
Yeah.
And when I had it, I felt good about it because I took the time to strengthen myself before that and after. So probably about 3 to 5 years.
And how long into this shift did you start with sound healing?
When I started with yoga. When I started my teacher training with yoga.
Okay.
Nice.
I remember as soon as I finished my teacher training, I bought my set of bowls.
Okay.
And
That's
I was
cool.
like, I love this.
Uh-huh.
And then I started different trainings and attending different sessions.
That's awesome.
And it's just something that I love to give to people. And it's so transformational. And I think so often we go through life not really knowing what it feels like to feel at home in our body. Right, and
and we're constantly talking about that, right? How to get in touch, how to with your inner being, and
I think that for me, the future of healing comes through vibration and frequency, light, and there's some other things that are coming in, but vibration is a tremendous healing. So the fact that you have all, and that's why I was bringing it back, because you have all of these different things that are tying in, and while you are balancing and healing people, as you said so poetically, it's not just the digestion of food, it's the digestion of everything that's going on in life, right? People doing these different things can heal a multitude of what has physically manifested in their bodies.
Yeah,
so do your people come to you looking for balance, or do people that are, that have something physically that they're dealing with, and they're adding these practices to make a change and then realize this is the change I need to make?
Both.
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah.
So I've had different types of clients come to me. Some are going through transition and want to know what the next phase is. Some are at the menopause and they're not sure. So I've had women who have changed jobs because they've worked with me.
Oh, wow.
Because they've created clarity through the habits that they've incorporated in their life. They've unwound those layers of beliefs. They've begun to digest their life and realize this isn't what I want.
Right.
And I want to make a change so that I can live the life that I want.
That's
right?
right.
And so some of that happens just through changing a few habits. Some of it is like sound healing. Oh, I can feel differently in my body and I can have this every day. Maybe I just add in a few different habits. Oh, I feel better in my body. Yeah. Right? It's not a whole regime that we're doing. Yeah. It's just a few little changes can manifest huge transformations. Yeah. And then we begin to see, and then I've had women who, may have had cancer, right? Colon cancer, for example, and, they come away with having part of their colon removed. They can't eliminate in the way that they were able to. They might be balancing children and older parents. This is an actual client, and she was having a lot of elimination issues, helping her to digest her life and create balance so that she can have self-care, eliminate every day, but still keep that balance to take care of her growing children and her ailing parents.
Yeah. I think it's beautiful what you're doing. I think that there's so much more to what people are experiencing through what you're providing, and I think the world is going to be turning this way more in the future, just like people are turning more into touching into the consciousness, and but you're pulling it together, and there's so many different ways that your practice has of helping people heal. It's incredible, and I bet there are people who are coming for balance who are healing little things that are starting in their body without even realizing
I was just going to say, they probably don't even realize.
But there's so much we don't realize.
Right, of course.
And often, like when we are running through our life, numbing or going to the next thing, we're not taking that pause to listen. So we're not necessarily in touch with what our body is trying to say to us. I always say to my yoga students, our bodies are always communicating with us.
Right.
They're always talking to us, right? Through the breath, through the heartbeat, right? Through the little sensations that we're experiencing, through a dry mouth, right? Right? Whatever that is, feeling tired. Yeah. But how often are we tired? And then we just push through. We get the caffeine and the sugar fix, right? Myself included, right?
Yeah.
There's still, even though I practice all these things and I try to incorporate this, there's still times I got to push through.
Yeah, right. You have no choice.
But the thing is, we have the tools to learn how to bring ourselves back into balance.
That's great.
Right?
So even if you go off, you get
80-20, right?
Yeah, and there you go.
That's right.
I was going to ask you too, just a little bit of sidebar. Are you doing a yoga retreat somewhere?
I am, yes.
Okay, because one of my friends said, "Oh, I signed up for this yoga. Come and look at this yoga," and I was trying to get over there, and then I didn't.
When is it?
So it's in October. October 20th through the 25th.
Okay, great.
And we're going to the Azores.
That's what I
how
thought.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Kat was like, let's do this.
Oh, you should come.
Yeah, okay.
Is it just women?
It's just women.
Okay.
And so it's yoga and fitness. My friend Colby Seatig is also doing it with me.
Okay.
So she's a fitness instructor. We'll be doing meditation. We'll be doing hiking.
Okay.
And then we'll be exploring the island.
Oh, nice.
And there's hot springs. And it's a subtropical island that is off the coast of Portugal. So it is Portuguese. And
Portugal, she's been
I'm
there a
actually
couple
going to
times
be in
recently.
Portugal at that time of year. If
Oh,
you
you
go,
are?
I'll meet you. Yeah, I have to look at the dates that I'm going.
Okay,
But
I'll get you the information. It's also on my website.
Okay.
Fabulous.
Yeah, good. I don't know if Kat signed up. She either said, I want to sign up, come and look at this, or I signed up. I'm like, you did? Okay.
Well, I think she signed up for information. So
Oh,
you'll see
okay,
the
good.
information on
Okay,
it. So,
good.
Yeah,
so
I
we have to
remember
check it
meeting
out.
her.
Yes.
So,
I love this. It's so calming just
it
listening
really
to it.
is. And I hope that everybody listening really tuned in because there was so much that you could get from this.
Yeah.
But if you could just give a few, I mean tools, but just tips and recommendations that people can implement if they're not yet on this journey, but they're feeling everything that you described and now knowing that, hey, I'm not alone and this is normal. And what are a few things that you can say to people to just help them start to get,
move this
balancing?
way.
Yeah.
I think the first thing is the power of the pause. Right? It's to pause.
Yeah, I love that. I was going to write that down.
Take a deep breath.
Right.
And then either react or respond or reflect.
Okay.
Right? So we do this in the morning, right? And we think that we have no time. We think we have no space in our life. It only takes 30 seconds, a minute to just do that. When you're walking to your next meeting, before you sit down to your computer, pause, breathe, and then move on.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's
right
nice.
after we do this meeting, right? Let's pause.
Right.
Or breathe.
Right.
Move on to the
That's
next
great.
Because it allows you if you have a little bit more time, you can reflect on that. That's the digestive process. Right? That would be number one.
That's great.
And
love
then
that.
sleep is so important for
Love
all
sleeping.
of us.
Yes.
So if you can get to bed before 11, right, so that our body has this opportunity to really wind down, and then our Pitta time in the middle of the night is the time that we detoxify, regenerate our cells, right? If we don't give our body that opportunity, right, then we're carrying that all into the next day.
And is that, I remember hearing, I don't know if this is true, or reading, that when I had the adrenal exhaustion thing, that your adrenals start rejuvenating at 11 p.m. So I remember you have to be asleep before 11.
Yeah. That's when all the detoxification and
So
the rest, the deep
okay.
rest, the deepest rest is during that time.
Right.
And you're robbing that from yourself. So I'm a
really
really big
so it's really
proponent.
like you got to get to sleep, even if and it has nothing to do with if your schedule say is later. Do you know what I mean? Like if you stay up later,
everyone
you sleep
says,
later.
I'm a night owl.
Or you sleep later. I'm just saying. So it doesn't adjust.
Well,
really.
I mean, in the summer and seasonally, you can kind
Yeah.
of adjust that, but really, you should be sleeping that time of night. Really essential for
Actually,
your
it's
body.
funny you say that because I remember, I mean, this is just silly, but I remember having to feed the kids. Like, that was the worst time to, like, if you fell asleep then, and then they'd wake up like an hour and a half into it and need to eat, and that was brutal. I always remember that,
for first-time moms, I know,
harder.
in
that phase of sleep,
absolutely.
the beginning
it's so hard.
phase.
It's so hard to wake up from that.
Right, right. Like later on, it was a little easier. But
Well,
and that's
really
why. But I never knew that.
You just brought me right back to that because I'm not thinking about it. I just went,
But she said like the 11 o'clock, and I never really knew that's your deepest.
And I will
thought
admit, my nature is that night owl. But when I go to sleep, like last night, I went to sleep. I was in by 11 in bed and asleep, and I feel so different. It's just it is so true. It just makes but I am the crazy person who likes to work out at night, and it's just my quiet time. But when I make the conscious effort, it makes a world of difference. It really does.
I always say, think about how you want to feel the next day.
Yes,
and then take on the habits today. So that you feel that way tomorrow.
That's great. I love that. That's
great.
great. I love the pause, breathe,
and that's
reflect.
really so important. Like what are the habits of the people that you want to emulate, right? And take a couple of those on. It doesn't have to be all of them. Just take one or two. you know?
And I love
We're going to do this.
Yeah, and
Right.
you know, even just your biggest meal in the middle of the day.
That's
we
right.
learned that today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
2 to 4 meals a day, but the biggest then. And if you're craving, you didn't have enough to eat, and you should give 3 hours before you go to sleep.
Yeah.
When you're eating, like, we learned so much today. And
Yeah, we
and
really
I think-
did.
yeah.
Thank you.
I'm glad.
This was
Really.
great having you on. Yeah, thank you.
I'm so grateful.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say before we say
No, you
goodbye?
mentioned the retreat. Take my
Okay.
quiz.
Yes, yes, definitely take that
the
quiz.
quiz.
Yes.
I do
Absolutely.
also offer a women's circle monthly.
Okay, great.
Our last one meets this June, and then we take a break for the summer, and then we'll start up again in September. So
In person?
in
Or
person.
okay.
Yeah,
So you have to be local
yeah,
to
Steph,
the
you
New
know,
Jersey
this
area.
is crazy, but I would really love to say at one of the next events that we have, I would love to start it with and maybe give a 20-minute sound healing.
That'd
Or
be great.
for that. I think that
I
would
would
be
love that. Thank you.
really.
You mean when people get there, or just
when
when they
people
walk
get
in?
there,
That's
or
not bad.
just one of
right.
the offshoots that we do. I think it's just a great way to set.
Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you so
Well,
much.
thank you
terrific.
again, Yvonne.
Yeah,
I mean,
thank you.
Yvonne. Yvette. That's so weird. We have a friend, Yvonne.
Yvonne, yes.
Well, it's funny because when I don't know where I was recently, and someone was talking about the name of Yvette always being spelled with a Y.
Oh, right.
And now, but never with an I, because mine's with an I.
Right.
And then Yvonne is
Y.
normally spelled with a Y.
Right.
But she's been seeing it with an I recently.
Oh, I've never
Really, I
seen
haven't
that.
either.
That was weird.
So,
Thinking
yeah.
of Yvonne.
Well, I was born in Nicaragua, so
Oh.
speaking Spanish, the I is pronounced E. So that's
Oh,
why they
okay,
do it.
okay. Well, thank you so much
no,
for
This was
being
great.
with us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's great.
thank you.
No,
We'll see you
appreciate it.
soon.
Yep.
All right, good.
And we'll see everybody next time.